Our top story, a day after meeting the Israeli leadership, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will hold talks with the Palestinian president and the prime minister. On Monday, America's top diplomat held talks with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Blinken has urged Israel and Palestine to de-escalate tensions. Violence surged between the two sides in the run-up to the Secretary of State's arrival. Before his meeting with the Palestinian president, Mr. Blinken today met with Israel's defense secretary to reaffirm America's ironclad commitment to Israel's security.
United, our commitment to Israel's security remains and will remain ironclad. I really appreciate this opportunity to exchange some ideas, some thoughts with the defense minister. We have a lot on our hands in this moment, and so I think this meeting could not be a better time.
Your visit comes at a critical time. It sends a clear message to the region. The United States and Israel are united, facing Iran or anyone threatening peace and stability in the region.
Now, for more on Antony Blinken's visit, we can now cross live to Ramallah and speak to Arise chief correspondent John Cookson. Good day, John. Very warm welcome to the program today, and we'll get straight into this conversation. What's the mood in Ramallah about this high-level U.S. visit?
Well, ladies, it's a cold, grey day here in Ramallah. It's just starting to rain quite heavily, and that kind of sums up the mood, I would say, here in the West Bank. Palestinians very disillusioned about general things in the area. They've been watching on TV Blinken meeting with the Israeli leadership and generally praising what's going on, talking about ironclad relationships, and the Palestinians just throw their hands up in despair, frankly, because they're so fed up with the general situation. The Jenin attack last Thursday brought shockwaves through the West Bank and signaled a new tactic by the Israelis of tackling what the Israelis say is terrorism on their own turf. In other words, going into towns like Jenin and mounting a major assault on suspected terrorists. So there's a lot of gloom. And, you know, it's kind of like another world that the people here are watching. There's the men in suits with all the security and all the paraphernalia that goes with it. And then there's the people who have to live their lives constantly here in Ramallah in pretty grim conditions. Now, earlier today, ladies, I was down at Ramallah Souk and asked people to talk about what they thought about the Blinken visit, and this was their frank responses. Think about the Blinken visit.
I think it's no benefit for this visit because, as I believe, most of the Palestinian people think that Israel and Palestine is one face for the same coin, and everything they just go for the benefit of Israel, and they are not looking for the Palestinian people. You know, the last government for USA, till today we didn't see one thing that happened for the benefit of the Palestinian people. So, no useful from this visit.
I think it's just a waste of time.
A waste of time?
Yes, sir.
Why is it a waste of time?
Because they keep talking about the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and nothing happening. I was born here. I own land here. I have wife and kids here. Now I have papers. I'm illegally here, and I got 11 grandkids in the U.S. and 5 kids.
So what do you think the future is going to be for Palestinians in the West Bank?
The future looks vague because it's two-sided to the story. No one, you know, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander.
What do you think the future is for Palestinians?
I don't think there is any solution between us and Israel. The Israel want to be they want to take all Palestine, and we saw. We want all Palestine. There is no solution.
Well, John, those reactions are certainly a reminder of what you, or they seem to echo what you mentioned yesterday, and it's quite sad to hear, but I'm wondering what Blinken is likely to ask Mahmoud Abbas for as a priority.
I think the priority is to try to get this cooperation back between Palestinian security forces and security forces in Israel to collaborate on possible terror attacks. Now, they were cut off last Thursday after the Jenin assault by the Israeli army, and this has happened before, and relations have been restored reasonably quickly after that, because it's so important to, frankly, this part of the world, that there is cooperation between the Palestinians and Israelis on security for the benefit of everyone, really, from both sides in the conflict. So I think that's a priority. It's partially been restored, as I understand, but if Blinken can get a confirmation from Mahmoud Abbas that things are back to normal, then I think that will be something of a victory. There's also the two-state solution, which seems to have revived itself as a result of this Blinken visit. The two-state solution basically means the two sides living in peace, side by side, one Palestinian state, the other Israeli state. But, the mood just isn't right for this to happen right now. I mean, there's so much tension in Israel and also on the West Bank. Not so much here in Ramallah, where things are relatively calm, but out in the, if you like, the Badlands up in the north in Jenin, where local groups are very much in charge of security and things are very much out of control, then look, it is important to try to get this link together. The two-party state solution, I can't see that happening anytime soon. The mood just isn't right.
Now, with no departure from the US from their traditional script, concerning these issues, and this time around, of course, we have a Benjamin Netanyahu who's backed by extreme right coalition. So that's probably the only thing that's really changed in this whole equation. What's your assessment of the future?
There's worry here in the West Bank as to what happens when Mahmoud Abbas dies. Now, he's thought to be 87 years old, and he's not going to last forever. I mean, he at the moment is keeping a lid on things to a degree in this part of the world. Now, when he goes or steps down, what happens next? And the big fear here is that Hamas, which controls Gaza, will try to make inroads here in the West Bank. Hamas, of course, backed by Iran. The other scenario, of course, is that Hamas stays out of the picture for the time being, and then Palestinians literally fight it out for leadership here in the West Bank. So I think this is the big concern. There's problems now, of course, which have to be solved, but the big matter is what happens when the leadership changes. What will happen to the various factions here in the West Bank, and how will it all work out? So every which way you look, ladies, it's a grim story, and with American attention very much focused on the war in Ukraine and elsewhere in the world, then things are not looking good for both Israelis and Palestinians.
It's indeed a grim story, but the fact remains that you're doing an excellent job. Arise chief correspondent live from Ramallah, John Cookson, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.